Charlie, very good morning to you.
Morning.
First time you've been on this show. First time you've been on any show with me, actually, isn't it? I keep seeing you on Talk, but we've never actually sat in the same studio together.
We haven't, but I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm very happy to see you. We've got to start with my 6 fixes for Britain, as it says on the front page of the Daily Mirror. Sir Keir Starmer, our first steps to make Britain work again for working people. Number 1, deliver economic stability. OK. Cut NHS waiting times. Brilliant. 3, launch a new border command. Very good. 4, because border command sounds better, doesn't it, than border force? It just sounds better. Number 4, set up Great British Energy. OK. Number 5, crack down on antisocial behaviour, presumably amongst Labour MPs, as well as everybody else. And 6, recruit, I don't know why this number, 6,500 new teachers. I mean, really? Is this it? Is this what we're supposed to be voting for? The new government?
Well, and you're absolutely right. Look, the Labour Party, I think, by their admission, will say that this isn't rehashed. This isn't anything new in there. Right. And you're right, the 6,500 teachers doesn't go very far when I think there's about 30,000 odd schools in the country. So it's a bit of
that's not even one teacher per school, is it?
No, it's not.
I mean, that's probably just about enough teachers to fill the vacancies in London.
Yeah, quite right. So it's all a bit...
Is it a misprint? Does he mean 65,000 new teachers?
Who knows? Who knows? But it won't go very far. But you're right, deliver economic stability. I mean, that's something, the top 3 pledges that the current Prime Minister has announced is all on the economy. Cutting waiting times, another one of them that the PM's already announced. Stopping the boats, obviously, same thing really as the border commander.
So the first 3 are pretty much the same as Rishi Sunak's, aren't they?
Pretty much. And I think, look, you know, I don't think this is, as the Labour Party will say, it's anything new. It's just trying to make the comms, it's all about the comms.
Yes.
Mike, it's all about the comms and making the communications a bit better and a bit clearer than the 6 missions that he'd already announced last year.
Yes, and he says that he will set out how he will fully fund each of these promises, he says, will make Britain work again. But as James Max just said, you know, surely the thing that we need in this country is a bit of economic stimulus. We need a bit of economic growth. We need to give some taxes back to companies and to people and to create more wealth for the country, no?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. That's the only way you can sort of fund the problems that we have in our public sector. So, you know, cutting waiting times in the NHS, you need to recruit more doctors and nurses. That can all be done, as you say, by having to grow the economy, first and foremost.
Yes.
But you can do that also, and you grow the economy by cutting taxes and you know, inward investment from I
mean, nobody's going to read that who isn't sure who to vote for and suddenly go, right, that's it, I'm definitely voting for this. I mean, this Great British Energy thing, I mean, nobody really knows how that's going to work. He's claiming that he wants to set up a nationalised sort of energy company. I mean, does he mean that he's going to buy out all of the other energy companies? Does he mean that no private energy company is going to be operational? Does he mean that, you know, we're going to stop, you know, drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea? What does he mean?
Well, he's got to come clean about it, and he's got to tell the public, you know, openly and honestly, where the money's going to come from, how it's going to come from. Because if you're nationalising, if you're asked to have a nationalised energy sector, then that's on top of a nationalised railway, on top of a nationalised, you know, whatever else that they pledged to take back as part of their control, airspace, and all the rest of it. So, you know, I think the public will see through pledges now. They see through the headlines. People want to know how things are going to be costed and how it's actually going to work. And there's not much meat on the bone, I'm afraid, at this stage.
There isn't. So I think we're going to give Keir Starmer about 4 out of 10. Or maybe not even... Well, that's the other part of the 10, isn't it? Because his 6-point plan does not even get 6 out of 10, I'm afraid. A big story on the front page of the Mail. Unusual for them to lead on a foreign story, but this is an extraordinary state of affairs over in Slovakia, where the pro-Putin Prime Minister suffered an assassination attempt yesterday. He's fighting for his life in hospital. I don't know, as most people, I'm sure, don't know much about Slovakia, but Robert Fico is said to be a sort of maverick-type politician, very pro-Putin, very pro-Russia, was taking Slovakia sort of back to, you know, former Soviet times, if you like. Very weird story.
Yeah, it's bizarre and also quite harrowing. I mean, Slovakia is only one of 3 countries, along with Austria and Hungary, who seem to be the thorn in the rest of the EU group's sort of side when it comes to the EU and the project that they're trying to pursue. He is very pro-Russia, very pro-Putin, but he hasn't always been that way. He was he's been Prime Minister, this is the 3rd time he's been Prime Minister, and he set up a new party on the 3rd occasion, but it's become a more of an authoritarian party that he set up that's in power. And he was just on a visit, on a walkabout. According to the Mail, some fans that were hoovering outside, you know, beckoned him over. And as he came over to greet sort of the public, you know, an armed individual apparently
fired 5 shots at point-blank range and sent him sprawling to the ground. As I say, he's fighting for his life. And the man who's been detained for the shooting is 71-year-old Juraj Kintula, who's said to be a poet. which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
Other people are suggesting that he might have other slightly more sinister ties to various other sort of, you know, Russian-related groups. So it's not clear whether this might have been something which was done as a kind of a lone wolf attack or whether it was ordered by somebody.
Exactly, and we don't know, because of the political history of the Prime Minister, we don't know whether this might be someone that's, you know, aggrieved because of the left-wing policies that have been abandoned by the Prime Minister, or whether it's someone on the extremes on the other side who thinks he hasn't gone far enough. Or, but you're right, you often say the pen is mightier than the sword, but on this occasion the chap seems to have resorted to using a weapon.
And of course it is a NATO nation as well, so I mean people are going to be a bit concerned that, you know, here we have one of these sort of what you might call satellite NATO nations, but looking quite unstable, because we did a story yesterday about Georgia and how there's so many people now currently sort of, you know, walking around the streets demonstrating about the fact that they don't want to be closer to Russia.
And totally, and I think that's why, look, you know, whatever our views about Russia, and you know, I think we should all be very clear in the UK that Russia has, you know, committed an illegal invasion of Ukraine. It's another European country. You know, Putin is doing some terrible things in that country, but he's also spying on us. But you know, the Prime Minister of Slovakia is democratically elected. Any democratically elected leader, whatever your views on them, that faces an assassination attempt.
But it does show, doesn't it, in addition to what's happening in Ukraine, in addition to what we're seeing in Georgia, suddenly now here's another satellite, former sort of Russian state, if you like, suddenly being affected by something that's happening in Russia.
Yeah, exactly. It's having,
so they're sort of flexing their muscles around about the place, aren't they?
Yeah, totally. It's having ricocheting reverberations around Europe.
Absolutely right. Back to closer to home, Mark Harper, Government Minister, of course, the Transport Secretary, has promised to change the law. This is on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, so that dangerous cyclists face the same punishments as dangerous drivers. This will come as great comfort to an awful lot of people, including those who have suffered at the hands of cyclists. Only yesterday we were talking about another woman who was run over in Regent's Park, almost the same spot as the woman previously, the pensioner who was run over and who later died as a result of being hit at sort of 29 miles an hour, one of these crazy, you know, lycra-clad louts, as we like to call them, racing around at Regent's Park at 29, 30 miles an hour. So, I mean, he's quite right, Harper says this: dangerous cyclists who kill or seriously injure others should face the same penalties as road users. So they're going to change the criminal justice bill to make it possible for irresponsible cyclists to be held to account. Because in the case of that woman who did die, the cyclist was not prosecuted on the grounds that there was nothing to prosecute him with, as it were.
Exactly. There wasn't a law in place to prosecute against a cyclist for dangerous driving, which is effectively what it was, and doing timed laps, which seems to me a bit of a bizarre thing to do in Regent's Park anyway at that time when it's a busy area.
Well, it's a very odd behaviour that a lot of these characters do. I mean, they're members of something like the Muswell Hill Peloton Club, which sounds like the most nightmarish club that anybody would ever wish to be a member of. But yeah, we'll come back to that.